Hi everybody, my name is Alex, I'm 22 years old, and last Rosh Hashanah I was diagnosed with cancer. I had been living in Germany as part of my year abroad from university, and around February time I noticed red marks across all my fingernails and my knuckles. A rash also appeared across the bridge of my nose. Not really thinking anything of it, I carried on living my life in Berlin, assuming it was due to the lack of sun and the bitter cold weather, until the Passover holidays, when I came home. Due to the abnormalities in the appearance of my skin, I headed straight to the GP. He looked at my hands and face and was completely lost. He gave me some cream and told me to come back in a month if things didn't improve. So I headed back to Berlin to complete my year abroad. However, things didn't improve, they got worse. I slowly started to notice that other things were not quite right. The muscles in my legs and arms were beginning to ache and hurt to the point where I couldn't sit with my legs crossed. And days before I was due to fly home, a lump appeared in my neck. I went straight back to the GP and he referred me immediately onto a dermatologist. He requested bloods and took photos of the rashes on my face and my hands. The rashes had now spread to my arms and were incredibly itchy. He wanted a skin biopsy and also suggested I see a rheumatologist about the pain in my muscles. I was passed from specialist to specialist, at which point I was becoming a medical phenomena, and for the next 6 months I underwent countless blood tests, 3 skin biopsies, a fine needle biopsy, 3 operations, a possible diagnosis of lupus, a misdiagnosis of tuberculosis, a diagnosis of dermatomyositis, a rare autoimmune disease, 2 MRI scans, a muscle-specific MRI, 3 CT scans, an ultrasound, 3 steroid infusions, hundreds of pills and creams, and 10 consultants later, I was finally coming close to a diagnosis. The summer holidays were now over, and I had just started back in my 4th year at Leeds University. The day after I arrived back in Leeds, having missed Freshers Week due to surgery, before I'd even unpacked my things, my parents rang me, telling me to get the next train home, as the doctor had the results of my 3rd operation. I rushed back to London and was met at the train station by my parents and my sister, all looking worried. We travelled to now the very familiar rheumatology waiting room, where we waited to be called in by my consultant. I had travelled back to London with the expectation of bad news, but nothing could have mentally prepared me or my family for what she was going to say, and I will never forget that moment. "You have cancer," were her exact directing words. In fact, I had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The emotion that then filled the room erupted. This was the first time in the 6 months leading up to my diagnosis where I became an emotional wreck. Uncontrollable amounts of tears, sobbing, wailing, and then silence ensued. The tension in the room was unbearable, and I couldn't make eye contact with my parents or my sister, as I almost felt like I had let them down. The journey I had taken them on in the previous 6 months, I knew was a horrendous experience for them. But this was the icing on top of a very bitter, cancerous cake. The doctor, who we had become rather close to, had arranged for a haematologist to come and talk to us, as he was going to take over my care. When you hear the word cancer, you automatically assume the worst. And I did. All the negative connotations associated with cancer were floating around. Was I going to die? What is the treatment? How long will it take? And what will I look like bald? Most of what was said wasn't taken in. I was so overcome with emotion that I could hardly concentrate. We were at that appointment for over 2 hours, and we had to get back before Yontif came in, as did the haematologist. My treatment initially consisted of 6 rounds of chemotherapy, followed by a stem cell transplant. During my transplant, I was semi-isolated in hospital for 3 weeks, having undergone another 5 rounds of high-dose chemotherapy to try and prevent the cancer from returning. That is, in brief, the story of my diagnosis. But now I would like to talk to you about something very close to my heart. High. High brought me out of a very dark place. High was something I always knew existed, but hadn't experienced. After my diagnosis, we were told of High's wonderful work from various friends and relatives, and recommended to pay them a visit. I was slightly nervous about going because I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I was completely blown away. The warmth and passion for caring was immediate upon entering the premises. Their new centre is stunning. High were quick to not only offer me, but to my family, their wide range of services, from counselling to complementary therapies. We all benefited greatly from counselling. I can only speak for myself, but it brought out a confidence in me to talk about my disease and treatment, and this is why I'm able to speak to you today. When you tell people you have cancer, they can react strangely. Some people treat you like you have the plague and avoid you. Others want to become your best friend, and you quickly learn who your real friends are. When I went to High, I was treated not like a cancer patient, but by someone going through a new challenge in life. My counsellor was wonderful. She had all the time in the world to listen to my rants, my moans, concerns, and silences. Whether I wanted to talk about cancer or not, she gave me her full-time commitment and dedication, and that made me feel humbled. It was a welcome change to have someone different to talk to. Someone I knew wasn't judging me. Someone who wasn't going to gossip about me afterwards, but someone I could trust from the offset. There was only so much I could tell my parents without scaring them anymore. I also made use of the wonderful complementary therapies as a relaxation from chemotherapy, which I still greatly benefit from today. If it hadn't have been for High, I don't think my cancer journey would have been the same. High let me be myself. They were there to pick me up when I was feeling down. They were there to listen to my concerns about my illness and the treatment. They were there to make me feel human again when I felt like a science experiment. They were there for my parents, my sister, and my grandparents to help them all cope with what was going on. They gave me a confidence to go out when I was bald and had no eyebrows. High made my cancer experience a positive one. Their motto, "Cancer doesn't care, but High does," is so appropriate and true. You can't comprehend what going through cancer is like, not only for the sufferer, but for the people who are around them until you have been there yourself. High are there to make this traumatic journey as easy for you as possible. And without all their committed, amazing staff and volunteers, caring nature, and willingness to provide a positive cancer experience, I daren't imagine how my cancer story may have ended. Thank you all.